But yeah, being patient with yourself is really important, and having that awareness. This is what I think when people are like, well, what is this workshop? I don't get it. It's like when you're just kind of running away, doing the same thing, you're basically a computer program that's repeating the same things again and again.
Right.
You're not questioning what you're doing or how you're thinking or how you're doing it. You're just doing it. And then that means that you're more likely to just stay in that whatever stuck pattern it is, if it's not sleeping or fighting with your spouse or hating your job or whatever it is, you're just going to stay keeping doing that same thing until something changes. And that's what we can do with this workshop of really identifying what needs to go. Like for me, what bothered me about that whole what you're manifesting inside of yourself is going to represent in your relationships. The part that bugged me is that isn't that still like exercising control? I'm trying to control the other person by, if my intentions are good and my, I'm coming from light and love, and I have clarity about, my priorities being wanting to have a good relationship, that's going to impact, and not necessarily at all,
No.
actually.
Right.
Sometimes people find that really annoying because they don't understand what the heck you're doing when you're having a problem and you're trying to stay in this place of being positive and light and fuzzy about it, and they
Right.
really want to fight.
Right.
And that can be it's not something that you can't talk the other person out of their reality and expect them to go along with yours because you feel like you want to get along with everybody, because not everybody feels that way, and they are entitled to their own opinion and their own values and their own, you know, um, desires. And I think that the clarity part for me has been really important. Like the first time we did it, I don't remember everything that was on my list, but some of the most pressing problems I've had have lasted this whole year. But my attitude about those problems has really changed, and how I'm approaching um, dealing with the issues has really changed. And a lot of, like, my relationship with God has actually gotten better. I've been doing a lot more praying and letting go of my expectations of other people, including, that they will love me and want to be in a relationship with me. And that's been really important. I think it's part of the spiritual work of being able to control what you can control. So I can control my attitude and try and be welcoming and loving and kind.
Right.
But if the other person isn't interested, they're not interested.
Right. And
And
sometimes that's painful, but it's something that we have to work through. That's the part that is the work part.
yeah, and I think,
because because it's something that we think or we always thought would always be, and then it's not, and you're just going like, well, and as women, we want to fix things, and sometimes they're things that can't be fixed the way we want them to be fixed. So we have to work on what the new looks like. And you don't have to like it. And that's okay.
yeah, and not having
Uh,
control of how it looks, right? Like
right.
whether
That's
it's just on,
exactly it. Hmm.
while I'm alive or not, is really
Right.
be outside of my control,
Right.
because I don't really have any say in that kind of level of contact if the other person has just completely cut me off.
Right.
Um, but that doesn't mean that I need to suffer for the
No.
rest of my life thinking about this particular situation that's not going to resolve anytime soon. Um, I have control over that to a certain extent, but not, this is the thing about the manifestation that I think people get confused. If I put it on my list that I'm going to bring in more joy, therefore that person's going to come back into my life and want to be my friend or be around me because I'm joyful. That's practicing with condition, and you're not practicing about yourself. You're trying to control that other person.
Right.
And that's where we get into that slippery slope of, I was talking to someone on the weekend and she was like, there's no reason why my boyfriend can't be the one that stands up for me and is always there. But I assume that he's not going to be the man who stands up for me and is always there. So in a way, I'm manifesting that because I'm kind of pushing him away all the time when things go wrong. I'm not giving him the opportunity to be there for me.
Right.
And so that part is in her head, right? But if she decides that she wants him to be there for her and starts opening the door, it's still up to him
Right.
to come in, right? The welcoming part, we're just opening the door for those things.
Right.
And sometimes it's like if you get into like specific symptoms, like intimacy, if you're not having enough intimacy in your relationship and you would like to have more, you can think about what's holding you back as far as what maybe you need to let go of around that. Is there an expectation of things being like they used to be? Is there, whatever it is, a fear of being rejected or putting yourself out there again, or, having things be a disaster because things didn't work. Um, and you have to kind of let go all of those expectations in order to have that door open, to have more intimacy in your personal life in a way that is going to be fun. And, there's nothing worse than expectation to kill spontaneity and desire.
Right. And having conversation with your partner helps too, a certain extent if they're open to that conversation. Uh, if they know how you feel and they care about you, hopefully you can work together to make that the intimacy happen the best way that it can. So, and yes, it's changed.
And yes,
That's
it's
why we're
changed.
here. And
And
yes, it's changed and
And
it's
that's
okay.
okay. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's the thing that, when I was talking to a coach this last week and she was like, "Well, what is it like, what would you nail down and say the ladies in your group, what is it that they want?" And I was like, "Honestly, they want to go back to the way that it was before.
Yeah.
That's what they want.
Yep.
They want to go back to being able to overwork and not feed themselves properly and cater to everybody else in their lives and
Yeah.
be on call 24/7 and never really need to take any me time and be available for, the intimacy and all the rest of it the way that they always have been. And now they just can't because they don't have the energy. They can't push themselves through it, or they have some kind of physical symptom that's interfering with their ability to do that. And they want to go back to that old way instead of saying, in alternative health, one of the things that we learned about symptoms is every symptom is like an invitation. It's like a guidepost of what could potentially be going on here for that person as a learning opportunity to become a better, healthier, happier, whole person. Which is like when you're having hot flashes and that are waking you up, it's not like you're so grateful for that opportunity to learn.
Right.
But, I have learned an awful lot. It's been almost 2 years that I've been working with sleep and doing the 21 days to fix your sleep classes, and my whole relationship with sleep has changed. I spent a lot of time last night not sleeping because I got upsetting news, and, I it's almost like, have you ever heard the phrase, "I was worried about how worried I was?"
Yeah.
Upset about how upset I was, right? It's almost like
Yes.
that, where it's like, I realize that I'm, having trouble sleeping and I'm upset. But I'm not upset about the fact that I'm upset because I can go, okay, this is bad news, results in me being upset, and now I'm having trouble sleeping. A plus B equals C.
Right.
It's totally normal to be doing that right now. And the only thing I really can do is, keep reminding myself. There's a yoga nidra phrase that I really love where it talks about guide me from the unreal to the real. And I'll think about that because if I'm laying in bed and I'm thinking about another person or a situation or something that's going to happen tomorrow or whatever it is, a mistake that I made, um, I'm not in real because what's
Right.
happening real is it's 3 a.m. and the room is quiet, you know, noise machine is on and the little humidifier in the corner. And it's
Mhm.
time to rest, whether I'm actually sleeping or not. I need to be
Right.
resting. And that's what's real at that moment. And all of these other things, memories, worst case scenarios, catastrophizing, all the other stuff, that's actually not real because it's not what's happening right now. And
Right.
I would not have thought of that 2 years ago. I would have just been devastated and probably, I don't feel great today, but I don't feel like bad,
Right.
So that's huge. And I think a lot of it is because of the workshop. Like I had a few times in the last few weeks where I felt really lost. And I have my welcoming in list. I save it on my phone. So it's there as like the backdrop. I don't know if you can really see it, but
Yeah.
I can see it's got comfort in my body, radical acceptance, focus on the present. And every time I look at it, it kind of reminds me like, okay, so what is important to me? Focusing on the present is important to me. Well, is that what I'm doing when I'm worrying about,
Stuff.
any number of
Yeah.
things? No, that's not what I'm doing. I'm feeling sorry for myself. And I think that's another area you can get into trouble because sometimes you do need to take that time and realize, yeah, I do feel sorry for myself
Yes.
in
And
this.
again, that's okay. These feelings are all okay, and um you need to address them and say, this is how I'm feeling, and feel the feel, and then uh try to move on from it, because you have to feel the feel, otherwise it's not going to go away.
Yeah.
And it's not, you can't dwell and sit and knit with it. But you have to recognize that that's what it is. And once you do, a lot of times, even last night, I said to my husband, my mom's has passed away, it's been 30 some years now, but I'm sitting there, and it's always this time of year, and I look at my husband and go, I miss my mom. And he goes, yeah, I know what you mean. And his mom's passed away a few years ago now too. So, but saying it, I started to feel better as soon as I said it. Before that, I was just doing this with it. And I call it knitting with it, because I'm just making it more and more, and it's not going anywhere. So addressing it, saying that that's how I feel out loud to someone or no one, just saying it out loud, and I'll say, Mom, help me. Like, I need help me. But there's things like that I'm sitting there and I'm going, a lot of times we deny that we have those feelings, or we have any kind of whatever feeling, because we view those negative feelings, because they're supposedly negative, as bad. And no, you shouldn't feel that way. Well, you do. So why are you saying that? So,
Yeah, and that reminds me of like another thing I've been thinking about a lot lately is toxic positivity. Because in the coaching world, there's this idea that, you know, mindset's a really big deal, and it is. And how you're thinking about things is a really big deal, and it is. But if you try to deny your feelings by going, well, it's not positive, it's not constructive for me to spend time thinking about my dad that died in January. So I'm just not going to
right,
think about it anymore because there's
right,
nothing really to do, right? Everything that was needed to get done pretty much has been done. And that's denying the reality of what's happening for me right now. Instead of saying, you know, I'm sad because my dad has died and that's the way that it is. And I'll probably just be sad about that until we're reunited at some point.
right,
And
right.
that I can be okay with that. And that it doesn't have to be like a boulder. I think I don't know if I ever told you this one, there's like, I think it was Deepak Chopra was talking about denial and the grapefruit. So let's just say that you have a drug addiction or anorexia or, whatever toxic habit or difficulty in your life. It's like you're carrying around a grapefruit, but you're constantly trying to hide it. You're trying to hide it from everyone. You're trying to hide it from everyone else, and you're trying to hide it from yourself. So you spend so much energy trying to hide this stupid grapefruit that if you were to just say, look, I have a grapefruit,
Yeah,
now you're going to eat it or you're not going to eat it. Now maybe you can even put it down. And that's been one of the things that I think works in this workshop is that we get to say, like let's say, some of the changes are not, they're difficult, right? Like I had a little bit of a dizzy spell this morning. And I'm pretty sure it's blood sugar related and from fatigue because I didn't sleep well last night. But if I deny that I have had the dizziness and I don't stop for a moment and, hold on to the table if I'm standing or the wall or whatever and ground again and give myself a couple moments,
right,
if I just deny it and keep walking, I'm going to fall down and hurt myself.
right,
You have to take that moment to go, oh, I'm having a moment of dizziness, and if it happens again and again and again, then I'll take that to my doctor and say, okay, I'm having, you
right.
know, more dizziness? Is there something we need to look at? Um, so acknowledging it, but then not getting like stuck to it. I'm like, oh my God, I was dizzy today. So maybe I'm going to be dizzy again tomorrow and maybe the next day. And I wonder why. And probably have
Right.
a brain aneurysm and die like my friend Marcia and have
Uh-huh.
breaking down when it happens. Um, that's toxic too.
Right.
It's like, I keep coming back to this idea of like being in balance, like accepting that the negative thing is there. I'm going to write down being in balance. And I don't know what exactly the negative side of that is, but it's part of accepting, I think, myself is that I've always had a lot of knowing about things that are going on for me and the people around me. But then when I've tried to communicate that to other people, they don't believe me. And then that just has been like really, really frustrating until it happens. And then they're like, oh, how did you know? How did I have no idea how I knew. I just had a sense about what was happening. Um, but when I accept that this is the way that it is, not only will I probably know things that other people maybe don't know or aren't prepared to know, I might be right about a lot of them, and other people are still not prepared for that.
Right. Absolutely.
And you can come into balance with that and be like, it's okay. Sometimes I'm going to know things that other people won't know and
Mhm.
don't maybe need to know. And maybe it's, I'm trying to grapple with how that is a gift, knowing something and then not being able to prevent it. How is that a gift? So that's a question that I'm having, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That is a that is one of the what do you call it? That's the word I'm looking for. I don't want to call it I'm going to call it a side effect because it's neither good nor bad. It's a side effect of having that gift. Um, and it's knowing who to share with and who not to share with as well. So some people are not ready and they don't want to hear it, and if they'll get angry. So it's like, yeah, okay. No, some people you'll say something to, and then they go looking around and for affirmation or whatever from somebody else as well. And then they go, aha, so there you go. And you're going like, and that's okay too, because that works on both sides, everybody got it. But I'm just going, it is a thing that when it's also a knowing of who and when to share, because even sometimes if somebody asks, it's better not to tell because they're not ready to hear, or if you can find a soft way to say it, because they don't want to hear the harsh reality of some things, and some things are harsh realities. I mean, my brother once told me I was too positive. I lived in a dream world. And I'm going, but I don't want to live in your world like everything's bad. I don't
Yeah.
wanna be positive. But there is a happy medium.
That's what I'm
And
looking for. Yeah.
and that's the balance. And that's what we have to look for. So it's always that, the knowing when to say something, when not to say something. And that's with every facet of life. And this time of life when we're in menopause and perimenopause, when we have our filter is mostly broken, it's hard.
Yeah. It is hard. And I wrote down, I was like, because being in balance, maybe the opposite of that is being in control. When I'm trying to be in control of situations and people and circumstances and all of these things that are outside of me, um, and even the symptoms, right? Like when I'm frantically trying to control my body condition, I end up working against myself. That's not being in balance. It's working with the symptoms. So I have some dizziness. I hang on to the wall. I give myself a moment. I do some deep breathing.
Right.
I wait for it to pass. I make a mental note that I've had some dizziness today so that if it does happen again tomorrow,
Mhm.
the next day, that I will be contacting the doctor to let them know just so that they can, it's probably blood sugar though, right? Like uh,
Mhm.
from the feast of yesterday, which was Dutch Christmas over
Oh,
so
okay.
eating and drinking too much, and
Right.
that throws off your blood sugar, which can make you dizzy.
Mhm.
It's being tired. So I think you said this, the whole when you declare it, I think that's part of what happens when you work with the circle and you say these things out loud. I'm going to let go of being in control and I want to bring in being in balance. When you declare that to other people and you have those witnesses,
Right.
in general, I think the circle sharing has gone really well with everybody being really supportive about wherever whoever is at, with their list or how much they know about themselves or how far they've gotten with their journey. And then I'm planning on writing a yoga nidra this time. And last time I wrote on like letting go and welcoming in. But I think this time I'm going to write about more of the season of like, what happens when we're in winter and things freeze up, basically.
Hmm.
Because that's what we're doing. We're doing the winter solstice event. And then we'll have to look at the dates and plan for what we want to do moving forward. But I think that it's a little bit on the woo-woo side, right? Like it's not, oh, you have hot flashes, so here's 6 things you can try to get rid of them. Um, but it's more like looking at what is underneath that and how you're coping with it and managing it so that you can come to a better place of understanding of yourself and move into that wise place of I don't I used to always kind of feel bad if and I used to say like if I had to say no, and I still honestly yesterday I said no to my older son and I felt bad. Like I felt bad. I was even mad at him for asking me because of the state I was in. Um because he knows that I'm in a bad state, right? And then it's harder to say no. But I was able to do that, realize that that's why I was having a problem with it because I don't like to say no and then say no anyway. And, hash it out with him a little bit and come to a better place of understanding of each other of what we're on about and where we're at in our lives. And understanding is really essentially, you know, that's how you get close to other people is understanding, trying to understand the other person's perspective and how hard it is to say no. In general, though, like in the last year, I think I've said no more than ever before in my life and really not felt bad about it at all. Instead of giving people a big explanation as to why. Just no.
Right. I'm still doing the explanation as to why I know I can't do that because
Mhm.
I'm doing this. It really doesn't matter what I'm doing. It's what I'm doing for me. But and that's really important. And in my family dynamic, I have to be more this is what I'm doing. Because if I make a suggestion or if I do anything that sort of might sound wishy-washy, I would get, oh, well, that doesn't matter. We'll do this. And it could be anything from where do you want to eat tonight to, I don't want to go eat there. I want to eat somewhere else. Oh, okay. The lineup at this restaurant isn't too bad. We should go there. And I'm going like, but I just said I don't want to go. So I'm not going to go. So you guys can go, but I'm not going to
I'm not gonna go. I know. And then it
go.
can, I think like the more you work with accepting yourself and realizing what you want in your life, it becomes easier to be like, well, that's not what's best for me. Like last night, I was just exhausted, like emotionally, physically, energetically, completely worn right out. And I just wanted to go sit in the bed. And I didn't really want to, I wasn't like, let's go to the bed and watch Netflix or let's go to bed and read or whatever. I just wanted to lay in bed. And my husband was like, it's really early. What are you doing going to bed? And I was like, it's what I want to do. It's what I want
Yeah,
to do. The
it's
cats are all in the bed too, and so is the dog. And so that's what I'm going to do is just sit there with my pets and think my thoughts and write some junk in my junk journal and try to let go of some of the things that I don't have control over. And eventually he did come to bed and he was like, it's just so early, but we don't necessarily he'll do that thing where he's exhausted and he'll stay awake and watch TV and try to numb out or whatever, and enjoy himself doing that.
mhm.
Whereas I think, honestly, I was left alone too much when I was a child. So I watched a lot of TV unsupervised. So I've done enough of that in my life of just tuning out and watching TV. At a certain point, I'm like, you know,
Eh,
if there's
yeah.
nothing in particular that I want to watch, I'm not into it because I've got other things that are pressing. So what would you say for the person who's just thinking about maybe coming, what would be some of the benefits to joining the Letting Go and Welcoming and workshop in your opinion?
I think this particular one is at the end of the year. It's the last one, it's winter. It can wrap up your year and help you bring in stuff for the new year and give you that sense of I'm doing something in a positive direction for me. And it can be a Christmas gift for yourself. It's not, uh, an unheard of thing. Uh, I and it's not just the money you're gifting yourself. I'm talking about the time. You're taking
Yeah.
that time to come and be with like-minded people who are going to help you. And you have the opportunity of giving them aha moments as well. I can't tell you how many aha moments we've had doing these where we are talking with our clients and it's just like, oh, I never thought of that. Oh, I never thought of that. And it's wonderful. But I
Hmm.
think wrapping up your year and starting the new year and having goals that are something that's from within and not just, I'm going to lose weight this year. I'm going
Yeah.
to, you
You
know,
could you could have weight management on the list. I mean,
you can,
it's
yes.
it's not I feel like I just constantly am aware of that and monitoring that, so I don't really need to have that one on my list. But if it was something that you didn't have a habit of being conscious of, that would work really well on your list, and then having that, I also print mine off and put it on the fridge. I do it at night up nice in Canva, so that when I go to the fridge, I'm reminded of like what it is that I want. And I don't particularly have weight on there, but usually I have like feeling strong or
Right,
those sort of things. I've also really noticed a lot of the time when we're doing it as one person's declaring what they're letting go and welcoming in, one of us or someone will be like, "Oh yeah, yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but that's for me too, right? I want that one too."
right.
And it's been very eye-opening to see how much of these things we have in common, and then that we're struggling on our own trying to figure out what is going on instead of, you know, doing
Right.
something
And
about
you
it.
also learned that, yeah, the fact that you're not alone. I
Yeah.
mean, there's so many things that we share that we're going like, even though we're from, Jessica and I are in two different countries, but I mean, I'm sitting there and I'm going, some of our issues are very much like on the same path. And we're just sitting there going like, okay, hearing that I'm not alone and that we can share this and there's people you can share this with and that we have the, uh, what's it called, Jessica, afterwards, where we write down how we feel in the, it's not a blog,
In the little group.
in our group. Yeah.
Little
That
group
is
chat.
also helpful where you sit there and now you know who these people are. Most of the time we have a face, we have a name now, and we can go say, "Oh yeah, that's so and so." I'll say something now. I'll, try to give them that bolster of, what they need, the energy they need to carry through what they want to bring in and let go. And like I said, the end of the year is always a really, really good time to do a little housekeeping that way and take care of yourself and gift yourself some, an hour and a half of your time max. And
Yeah, yeah, we try to stick it to 75, and we'll continue to do that, but it's also nice to have a little bit of extra leeway so that if something does come up, that we can talk about it. And I think that one of the things that I noticed is that maybe the individual circumstance might be different, but the feelings are the same.
yes,
Right. And so we can get into that a little bit and help each other to acknowledge the feelings that we have. And there's something about being witnessed in a way where no one's like, we don't give each other advice. We're
no.
not like, oh,
And there's no judgment.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's no judgment. It's not like, oh, you don't feel heard by your husband, so you better try, X, Y, Z. And that
Hmm.
kind of way. There is none of that. It's just, I don't feel heard from my husband. Okay, so what's the opposite of that?
Right.
Feeling heard. Okay, well then how is that going to work? And then maybe if you look at it every day for a while, you might be more likely to say, "Hey, I don't feel heard," and have him be like, "What? Well, I thought I was listening to you the whole time. I just am ignoring how you feel. But I heard
Yeah.
you."
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh, I can't fix it, so what do
Yeah,
you want
yeah,
me to do?
I can't fix it. So I'm having myself a second cup of coffee and there,
Yeah.
okay, so I'm gonna wrap it up here, but if you guys have any questions for us, you can let us know. That we did start a letting go chat so we can talk about the list and how the preparation is going. And then we went back to Thursday night because I think Thursday night is a better time to do it than we tried Saturday morning and there wasn't as much interest. So we'll go Thursday night and then I'm looking forward to doing the workshop and um, continuing to experience some of these little miracles. Like we've had so many just things spontaneously resolve
Yeah.
that I would like more of that.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
All right, hon. It's good to,
Alrighty.
as always. I'm going to end the meeting and we'll talk soon.
Okay. Take
Okay.
care, sweetie.
Bye.